Report of Interrogation of Survivors from U-434, a 500-ton U-boat sunk at about 1000 on 18th December 1941 in approximate position 36 degrees by 8 north and 16 degrees by 2 west. Section 1. Introductory Remarks. This report contains only material relative to the actual cruises, technical details, early history, and manning of U-434. All extraneous matter, such as usually attaches to a report on any one U-boat, has on this occasion been collated into the report on U-131, due for circulation shortly. The U-131 report will also contain extraneous material relating to U-574. The chief reason for this course of action had been that it was considered of greater assistance to readers if extraneous material relating to all three U-boats attacking the homeward-bound convoy on 17th-19th December 1941 might be collated in one report. The numbers of these U-boats were U-434, U-574, and U-131. Section 2. Crew of U-434. The complement of U-434 at the time of her sinking totaled 44. Of these, 4 were officers, 3 chief petty officers, 10 petty officers, and 27 men. Survivors numbered 42, 1 officer and 1 man being missing. The commanding officer was Captain Lieutenant Wolfgang Haida of the 1932 term. Born on the 14th November 1913, he was 28 years of age. He might be described as almost fanatically Nazi in his outlook. He gave frequent instructions to his crew on all security matters, but in contradistinction to the lectures given by Corvette Captain Baumann of U-131, sunk the day previously, which were given for genuine reasons of security, those handed out by Haida were based almost solely on hatred of the British as frustrators of Nazi progress. When first interrogated, this officer did not prove to be amenable to ordinary methods, but his attitude became more friendly with the passage of time. In 1937, he had been attached to a gunnery experimental department in Kiel. In 1938, as Oberleutnant zur See, he served in the Admiral Scheer and was promoted to his present rank in March 1940. He was subsequently transferred to the U-boat service and at one time commanded one of the older 250-ton U-boats in the training flotilla. Lieutenant zur See Klaus Janus, aged 29, was a law court clerk in civil life and seems to have joined the Navy in 1940, having formerly been on the reserve. Of somber and forbidding appearance, he was, throughout the period of interrogation, correct to the point of insolence, and must be rated as one of the most difficult prisoners who have passed through British hands. Interrogating officers described him as being the type who might very well have been a Gestapo agent. When it was suggested to him that he might like to be taken for a walk by an officer, he refused to give his word not to attempt to escape, and was consequently left in his room. He admitted having studied French in Paris and to having visited England on several occasions during yachting trips. Lieutenant Engineer Sub-Lieutenant Friedrich Oysterlen, the engineer officer of U-434, was 28 years of age and had been on the reserve list of the German Navy before the war. In civil life, he had been an engineer. He was as Nazi in his attitude as his 2 senior surviving officers, but rather less insolent in his manner. The remaining officer, Oberleutnant zur See Wolfgang Frank, lost his life when his U-boat was sunk by becoming entangled in the propellers of HMS Blankney. He was first lieutenant and had already been awarded the Iron Cross First Class in addition to various decorations for valor in the air. He belonged to the 1936 term and had been in the Naval Air Service. When the shortage of pre-war trained U-boat officers became acute, he was transferred to this service. In contrast to the crew of U-131, sunk on 17th December 1941, a day previous to the destruction of U-434, where the percentage of confirmed Nazis was estimated at not above 70, the crew of U-434 was at least 85% Nazi in its outlook. Most of the officers and other ranks were members of the Nazi Party. A feature of the crew as a whole was, once more, a large number of extremely youthful ratings. It could not be denied, however, that the senior chief and petty officers had sufficient previous experience in U-boats to carry out their duties sufficiently. Interrogation of the ratings left the impression that increasing use is being made of the U-boat school at Pillau in East Prussia. 8 of the 14 engine room ratings had been trained there without having served any time in the seagoing training boat. It seems that engine room personnel and telegraphist ratings who have attended a course at the Pillau school are drafted to operational U-boats without any preliminary training at sea. Section 3. Early History of U-434. U-434, built at the Schischau Yard at Danzig, was a 500-ton U-boat type 7C and was identical in all main features with the captured U-570, now HMS Graf. Prisoners have not divulged when U-434 was laid down or launched, but prisoners from U-433, sunk on 16th November 1941, stated that U-434 was built on the same slip as their own U-boat and was well advanced in May 1941, it being obvious that at that time she had almost reached the launching stage. One petty officer and one rating from U-434 said that in May 1941 they were drafted to Danzig to stand by the U-boat during the final stages of her construction. U-433 was commissioned on 24th May 1941, and it would appear that, as at this time the Schischauwerft was completing a U-boat every 3 to 4 weeks, U-434 must have been commissioned towards the end of June 1941. One prisoner made an unconfirmed statement that she was commissioned on 21st June 1941. According to a prisoner, U-434 followed the usual procedure of carrying out trial in the Baltic during July 1941, using Danzig as her base. These trials were carried out with members of the U-Boat Acceptance Commission on board. It was stated that Sopot Kiel and Warnemünde were visited, one prisoner joining the ship at the last named port. In August, U-434 again entered the Schischau Yard at Danzig for the customary refit before acceptance, and members of the crew were given leave. A second period of trials took place during September 1941 when U-434 was stated to have been exercised in company with U-402 and U-403, which had been completed at the Danziger Werft at about the same time. Torpedo trials were carried out off Mamel, Haida acquitting himself well, according to one prisoner. U-434 put into Kiel towards the middle of October, and here she embarked torpedoes and provisions and completed with fuel oil. Before U-434 left Kiel on her first war cruise, 2 last-minute changes were made in the crew. An officer prisoner of war stated that a rating who had been constantly idle, lazy, and dirty developed appendicitis, and he took this excuse to get rid of him. He also dismissed a second rating who was found to have been stealing underlinen and other articles from the officers. Prisoners seemed to be of the opinion that the work of the Schischau yard at Danzig had been unsatisfactory, possibly due to the number of Dutchmen employed there. Sabotage was suspected. Soon after U-434 had sailed on her first war cruise in October, it was found that the gearing for the venting and flooding valves was partially defective. Although capable of operation under normal circumstances, this defective gearing made operation inadequate when under a depth charge attack. The chief mechanician said that a substitute had been used for insulating purposes in the water circulator, resulting in overheating of one of the diesels. This, he considered, had been due to sabotage. Necessary repairs were carried out at Vigo after their arrival there on 14th December 1941. Section 4. First War Cruise of U-434. Prisoners agreed that U-434 left Kiel on 26 October 1941 and headed for the North Sea by the way of the Kattegat, where she sighted a drifting mine and the Skagerrak. Although U-434 was carrying the customary scuttling charges, 2 days elapsed before Haida could be persuaded to fix them in position. On rounding the Skal, U-434 ran into the teeth of a gale, bringing the first snow of the winter, so she put into Arendal, Norway, for shelter. Here she remained 3 days before creeping along the coast to Kristiansand, where she arrived in the evening 29th October. A prisoner stated that some members of the crew slept this night on shore, but that U-434 was underway again in the early morning of 2nd November. According to one prisoner's statement, U-434 was attached to the 7th U-boat flotilla at this time and was one of a special group which bore the name Stuben. Her orders were to cooperate with U-574 and other U-boats in a grand-scale attack on a convoy assembling either off Halifax, Nova Scotia, or St. John's, Newfoundland. NID note: prisoners from U-574 asserted that they had had instructions to attack this convoy off Halifax. Leaving Kristiansand, U-434 proceeded up the Norwegian coast and, according to a diary written by a prisoner, did not lose sight of land until 3rd November, when she altered course westward. Apart from the fact that a number of drifting mines were sighted on the 4th November, nothing of importance appears to have occurred on this cruise for the next 15 days. On 9th November, the author of the diary, a young torpedo rating, showed his speedy disillusionment regarding U-boat life, as he had imagined it, by recording carefully in code, "Continuous cleaning ship. It is enough to make you sick." On 12th and 13th November he entered "Weather fair," and on 14th November, "Calm sea, birthday of Commander, Kapitän-Leutnant Haida." On 18th November, U-434 appears to have sighted a ship in the distance and given chase without being able to approach within sufficient range to make an attack. According to prisoners from U-574, plans for joint attack on the assembling convoy were cancelled on 24th November, whereupon their U-boat put about. As the cruises of U-574 and U-434 had now become closely interlocked, it may be assumed that U-434 also put about on or about this date. On 26 November, the rating diarist wrote, "Difference of temperature of water between Labrador, North, and Gulf Stream, 10 degrees." On 29th November, when U-434 had reached a position off the Azores, prisoners stated that she sighted a northbound convoy and attempted to keep in touch with it while awaiting U-574 to join in an attack. But this delay was fatal, and the convoy escaped. NID note: there was no northbound convoy in this position. Convoy OS U-12 was close to the Azores, and Thornley Bank was torpedoed in this convoy at 01:15 29th November. On 30th November, prisoners stated that they sighted an Italian submarine but did not communicate with her. All the crew knew of this meeting and heard the lookouts cry, "Friendly submarine in sight." On 2nd November, U-434 met and exchanged signals with U-574 in circumstances described in the report on the interrogation of survivors from the latter U-boat. On the following day, the author of the diary wrote, "Course homewards," no doubt believing, as did prisoners from U-574, that his boat was heading for occupied France, whence he would be allowed to travel home on Christmas leave. In point of fact, U-434 was actually heading for Vigo, which port she was destined to leave almost immediately to continue her cruise, although at this time she had already been more than 5 weeks at sea, under most arduous conditions. On 5th December, while U-434 was proceeding up the Portuguese coast, a mast top was sighted and preparations were made for an attack. But again the U-boat was thwarted, as the intended victim proved to be Portuguese. A similar false alarm occurred on 8th December, which caused the torpedo rating to write with disgust in his diary, "Again alarm. It is enough to drive you crazy. The crew is fed up." On 9th December, U-434 is thought to have been off Lisbon, and according to the diary, a number of Spanish ships came alongside on the following day, which caused the writer to make the disappointed comment, "Regret they are friends." There is also a note of frustration in an entry for 11th December 1941, which reads, "Since this morning, attacking strongly guarded convoy, have not yet fired any torpedoes. This is very tiring." Hopes were finally dashed on the following day when the last entry appears. "Nothing sunk up to this morning. Lost convoy." NID note: this was convoy OG-77. It appears that these Spanish vessels reported that some British and American ships were loading in Lisbon. Haida proposed to lay in wait for them. Dissatisfaction had, however, spread amongst the crew, as they had been without bread and potatoes for 5 days, so it was decided to put in to Vigo forthwith. It is believed from prisoners' statements that U-434 arrived in Vigo in the early morning of 14th December 1941. Apparently, the night was so advanced that there was not sufficient time to complete the transshipment of supplies, and Haida, therefore, entered Vigo Bay and submerged alongside a German merchant ship. NID note: this merchant ship is presumably the 1,878-ton Bessel of the Neptune line. It had been ascertained that this ship was used for a similar purpose by U-574 on 13th December 1941. As darkness fell on the evening of 14th December, U-434 rose to the surface and the process of transferring stores and oil from the merchant ship commenced. The cubic volume of oil taken on board is not known, but it is believed to have been considerable. A complete list of stores supplied to U-434 is contained in Appendix 1 to this report. A prisoner stated that the provisions were packed in standard-size containers and had been purchased in Madrid. He added that one U-boat was supplied nightly, an allegation that is probably exaggerated, although it is true that U-574 and U-434 were provisioned on the nights of 13th and 14th December. Section 5. Last Cruise of U-434. U-434 left Vigo in the early morning of 15th December 1941, having remained alongside the German supply ship for approximately 24 hours. According to one prisoner, Haida received orders to proceed through the Straits of Gibraltar to a port near Genoa. It is not known whether U-434 had changed her flotilla at this time, but one prisoner alleged that she had transferred from the Stuben U-boat group to one known as the Seerobben Buccaneers. U-434 was presumably heading south when she received signals reporting the position of convoy HG-76, which had sailed from Gibraltar. The means by which she received these signals has not been divulged, but prisoners from U-574 stated that they themselves picked up reports from Focke-Wulf Condor aircraft, and later from U-131, Corvette Captain Baumann, which had first sighted convoy HG-76 and was shadowing and reporting her position regularly in order to home other U-boats to the spot before attacking. From whatever source these signals may have emanated, they were stated by prisoners to have been remarkably clear and accurate. It would appear that U-434 first received news of the convoy in the evening of 16th December 1941, and after proceeding at full speed throughout the night, came up with it on the morning of 17th December 1941. At this time, prisoners believed, as did those of U-574, that 7 U-boats had assembled for the attack. At 13:30 on 17th December 1941, when U-131 was sunk, in approximate position 34 degrees by 30 north, 13 degrees by 45 west, U-434 witnessed the incident at extreme range of visibility, estimated at 10 miles, and saw shell explosions from Exmoor, Blankney, Stanley, and Stork. Following the sinking of U-131, prisoners from U-434 claimed that 4 destroyers turned towards and they submerged to periscope depth. The destroyers, however, turned away when they had approached within 6,000 yards, and U-434 followed in pursuit. The convoy was shadowed successfully until at 0400 on the morning of 18th December 1941, contact was lost. The chief quartermaster, who is a prisoner, related that he and Haida were on the bridge at the time, and that Haida, who was about to go below, instructed him to steer as he pleased. He held a course of 030 degrees for 2 hours, and then altered course to 043 degrees, which he kept for a further 2 hours. At 0800 on 18th December, the chief quartermaster was relieved by the first lieutenant, Oberleutnant Zersi Frank, who was ordered to revert back to a course of 030 degrees. According to the chief quartermaster, Frank picked up his telescope and sighted the masts of 4 destroyers dead ahead. He ordered full speed ahead and remarked, "Quartermaster, your reckoning has justified itself. 4 destroyers." The quartermaster stated at that moment his heart sank, and the only retort he could think of was, "Well, goodbye." Section 6. Sinking of U-434. Stork reported that at 0906 or 0806 German summertime, Stanley sighted a U-boat, U-434, at 225 degrees, 6 miles port quarter, and Blankney, Deptford, and Exmoor were ordered to attack, the latter wisely anticipating orders. The convoy was brought back to a course of 350 degrees, since an alteration to the west has just been made. Of the ensuing battle, surviving officers of Stanley, who joined the attack, reported that Stanley's Asdix had been out of action for the whole trip as far as transmitting was concerned. She closed the U-boat at 24 knots, which dived at an estimated range of 3 miles. At a range of about 1 mile, oil and wake effects were observed to starboard, and Stanley reduced to 12 knots and commenced to drop single charges in the form of a square around the position. 3 sides of the square were completed, 19 depth charges, when Blankney came on the scene some 20 minutes later and dropped a 5-charge pattern with depth charge settings of 150 to 250 feet. Blankney then gave Stanley the bearing and ranges of the U-boat, on which information the latter fired a 14-charge, 1 misfired, deep pattern, using the same setting as before. In order to give the U-boat no time to recover, Blankney again attacked immediately after Stanley. In fact, there was barely a period of 3 minutes between the attacks. A pattern of 6 depth charges was dropped using the same depth settings as before, and the U-boat surfaced. Blankney opened fire and increased speed to ram, but the U-boat was seen to be abandoning ship. 1 officer remained on the conning tower firing a gun. It is thought that this was the first lieutenant, who was the only officer who did not survive. Blankney decided too late not to ram, but to attempt to board, and struck the U-boat a glancing blow, causing slight damage to herself. Blankney lowered a whaler intending to board, but the U-boat soon blew up and sank in position 36 degrees by 8 north, 16 degrees with 2 west, time 09:58, 18th December 1941. Prisoners from U-434 stated that on sighting the British warships approaching, U-434 submerged to periscope depth and fired 1 torpedo, which missed. U-434 then dived further, but scarcely had she started to do so when the ticking of ASDICs was heard, and the first depth charges exploded, damaging the conning tower hatch and causing water to stream into the control room. Depth charge after depth charge then exploded around the U-boat, and damage rapidly increased. The lights failed, the hydrophones went dead, the wheel jamming so that it could not be trained, the steering gear became useless, and water was entering forward, making the U-boat bow-heavy. 1 prisoner stated that the shaking the U-boat received was so prodigious that it caused the stern torpedo to fire itself of its own accord. Gauges were shattered with the exception of 1 depth gauge aft, which the officer engineer reported showed that the U-boat was sinking rapidly. None too soon, according to the feelings of the majority of survivors, Haida gave the order to blow the tanks. Prisoners were convinced that had he delayed another few seconds that they would have been lost, the boat, which was scarcely manageable, having already sunk to a depth of over 300 feet. U-434 reached the surface with the motors still running. The destroyers closed in, firing at a range which reduced to 500 yards. Haida lost no time in ordering his men overboard, after ascertaining that the time fuses for the scuttling charges had been ignited. Prisoners alleged that they did not wait to send a report of sinking to the Vice Admiral U-boats. 1 prisoner swimming near Haida stated that he heard his commander say, "Let's hope the damn boat will soon blow up." There was, however, an interval of 9 minutes before the charges, which were fixed beside the air bottles, exploded, and U-434 sank. 42 survivors were picked up by Blankney. 2 other members of the crew, Oberleutnant Zersi Frank and Maschinengefreiter, Stoker second class, Brandes, are believed by prisoners to have been run down by Blankney and killed by her propellers. U-434 joins the growing list of U-boats destroyed in recent months with no sinkings whatsoever to their credit. Section 7. Details of U-434. General remarks. U-434 was a 500-ton U-boat of Type 7C built at Danzig and therefore similar to the captured U-570. According to survivors, U-434 appeared to be painted dark blue-green in order to camouflage the U-boat. The paintwork is said to have been in good condition. It was stated that U-434 had no special armament against bombing attack. it was denied that U-434 carried a telephone buoy. Engines. U-434 was stated to have been fitted with two 6-cylinder 4-cycle MAN diesels. Electric motors. The electric motors were stated to have been built by AEG. Internal telephones. A leading telegraphist of U-434 stated that no internal telephone, operated without the use of batteries, was fitted. He was of the opinion that this had not been a success and had been abandoned. He said that it was generally found more satisfactory to pass the orders by word of mouth. Adoption of U-434. It appears from prisoners' statements that U-434 had not yet been adopted by a German town, as has usually been the practice with previous U-boats. Badge. Prisoners stated the U-434 had a badge on her conning tower depicting the arms of the town of Liegnitz. Scuttling charges. It was stated by an engine room petty officer that scuttling charges of 1.5 kilograms, or 3.3 pounds, were placed next to the air bottles and timed to explode 10 minutes after the firing key had been depressed. This latter statement was confirmed by the greater part of the crew, who stated that 2 explosions took place while they were swimming in the water about 10 minutes after abandoning the U-boat. Appendix 1. Translation of a German document captured from U-434, giving a list of stores taken on board at Vigo. This was in German, but in some cases the Spanish equivalent had been added in pencil. Beef in tins at 1 kilogram, 45 kilograms. Pork in tins at 1 kilogram, 45 kilograms. Goulash in tins at 1 kilogram, 30 kilograms. Veal in tins at 250 grams, 30 kilograms. Corned beef in tins at half a kilogram, 13 kilograms. Ham, cooked, 25 kilograms. Salted rib of pork in tins at 1 kilogram, 17 kilograms. Sausages in fat in tins at 1 kilogram, 10 kilograms. Salami type sausage in tins at 1 kilogram, 15 kilograms. Marmalade in tins at 12 kilograms, 36 kilograms. Red cabbage in tins at 250 grams, 24 kilograms. Liver sausage in tins at 250 grams, 21 kilograms. Brawn in tins, 420 grams, 21 and 42 kilograms. Black pudding in tins at 420 grams, 14 and 28 kilograms. Tongue sausage in tins at 1 kilogram, 15 kilograms. Salami type sausage, 30 kilograms. Bacon in tins at 5 kilograms, 25 kilograms. Dripping substitute, 8 kilograms. Dripping substitute, 16 kilograms. Dripping, 12 kilograms. Coca fat, 21 kilograms. Butter, unknown. Salad oil, 1 canister, 10 liters. Sardines, 160 tins. Tomato sauce, 17 kilograms. Soup cubes, 0.5 kilograms. Capers, 1 jar. Fish in tins at 5 kilograms. Zonfish, 15 kilograms. Sea bream in tins at 320 grams. Besugo, 33.6 kilograms. Salted cod in tins at 320 grams. Bacalao, 8 kilograms. Tunny fish in tins at 5 kilograms, 10 kilograms. Fillet of anchovy in tins at 170 grams, 13.6 kilograms. Salmon in tins at 0.5 kilograms, 10 kilograms. Salt in tins at 700 grams, 19.6 kilograms. Cheese in tins at 0.5 kilograms, 32 kilograms. peas, green, 16 kilograms, beans, white, 16 kilograms, beans, brown, 1 bag, 12 kilograms, rice, 1 sack, 12.5 kilograms, sago, 1 paper bag, 5 kilograms, ground maize, semolina, 13.5 kilograms, totaling 809.5 kilograms, and wheat groats, 6 kilograms, potato flour, 6 kilograms, oat flakes, 6 kilograms, pudding powder, 6 kilograms, cooking chocolate, 6 kilograms, dried onions, 4.5 kilograms, tea, 1.5 kilograms, wheat flour, 12 kilograms, malt coffee, 9 kilograms, mustard, 9 kilograms, macaroni, 30 kilograms, vermicelli, 30 kilograms, dried potatoes, 60 kilograms, dried apricots, 14 kilograms, dried apples, 12.5 kilograms, dried mixed fruit, 14.5 kilograms, raisins, 24 kilograms, dried plums, 24 kilograms, dried figs, 24 kilograms, walnuts, 24 kilograms, hazelnuts, 24 kilograms, almonds, 15 kilograms, celery in tins at 1 kilogram, 16 kilograms, green cabbage in tins at 1 kilogram, 30 kilograms, red cabbage in tins at 1 kilogram, 21 kilograms, cauliflower, 36 kilograms, celery in tins, 12 kilograms, kidney beans in tins, 30 kilograms, mushrooms, 12 kilograms, sauerkraut, 30 kilograms, beetroot, 30 kilograms, spinach, 21 kilograms, peas in tins, 15 kilograms, carrots, 15 kilograms, asparagus, 27 kilograms, cucumber, 30 kilograms, apple puree, 51 kilograms, plums in tins, 33 kilograms, pears, 24 kilograms, plums, 33 kilograms, cherries, 39 kilograms, apricots, 36 kilograms, condensed milk in tins at 450 grams, 240 or 120 tins, fruit jam, 45 kilograms, lemon juice in bottles, 12 liters, condensed milk, 48 tins, total 1,057. Fruit juice in bottles at 1 liter, 45 liters, lemonade, 30 bottles, coffee beans, 6 tins at 8 kilograms, 48 kilograms, eating chocolate, 28 kilograms, fine sugar, 15 kilograms, fine sugar, 30 kilograms, white pepper, 1 kilogram, pimento, 0.4 kilograms, clove pepper, 0.4 kilograms, nutmeg, 0.4 kilograms, cinnamon, 0.4 kilograms, matches, 400 boxes, soup, 11.7 kilograms, soup cubes, 12 kilograms, vinegar, 21 liters, honey in canister, 50 kilograms, brandy, 18 bottles, rum, 18 bottles, various liqueurs, 18 bottles, cigarettes, 11,400 or 11,000 pieces, biscuits, 24 kilograms, sweets, 21 kilograms, washing soap, 30 kilograms, soap flakes, 30 kilograms, shaving soap, 12 kilograms, ham sausage, 36 kilograms, pig's head, 24 kilograms, case of conserved bread at 4.5 kilograms, case of white wine at 12 bottles, case of red wine at 12 bottles, case of beer at 24 bottles, fresh stores, 200 kilograms of bread, 30 kilograms of white cabbage, 32.5 kilograms of onions, 250 eggs, 7.5 kilograms of lemon, 21 kilograms of grapes, 12.5 kilograms of tangerines, 30 bundles of leeks, 150 kilograms of potatoes, 42.5 kilograms of apples, 42 kilograms of beef, 20.5 kilograms of oranges, 125 oranges, 14 dozen salad, 15 bundles parsley. Above stores received December 1941. The document was torn in places. The meaning of the left-hand column is not quite clear, but may possibly indicate the markings on the cases in which stores were contained. Appendix 2, list of crew of U-434, etc. Survivors, officers 3, chief and petty officers 13, men 26, total 42. Casualties, officers 1, men 1, total 2. Total crew, officers 4, chief and petty officers 13, men 27, total 44. Report made February 1942.